Okay, I'm going to show you today how I make molds off furniture, and I use this easy mold, and you can get this at Joann's or Michael's, and I'm sure other places or online. It's very easy to use. It comes with instructions, and it'll have two little jars in it where there is a white putty and a purple putty. And once you mix these two, they become hardened or firm, and they won't do a mold anymore. So you have about a minute and a half to make the mold. And they recommend that you take a minute to mix the two, but I usually do it in about 30 seconds, so I have more time to form my mold. And one thing I do that has saved me a lot of putty is when you're going to make a mold, a lot of times you don't know exactly how much you're going to need, and you hate to not have enough, and you don't want to have a lot left over and waste it. So I usually will, before I used to try to think of something else I wanted a mold of in case I had leftover. But now what I do is I take some that I think is about, because this is only half of what I'm going to use, I take half of this and I press it on there, and that looks like it's going to cover it pretty good, but you really need to go around to the edges. So once I mix in the purple to this, it's going to be just the right amount, I think. So all you do is you mix all this together, and it should just become a light purple color. It doesn't take long at all to do this. And then I usually roll it into a ball again. And then I'm going to be doing one of these little flowers here. And the main thing you want to be careful of is you want to try to make sure you press down really firm, because you want this silicone putty to be in every crevice that it needs to be in to make a good mold when you use the clay in it or resin. And you just want to press really good and make sure you've got your edges good. And all you're going to do is leave that on for 30 minutes. And in 30 minutes you can peel this off, and I haven't had it stick to anything yet because silicone only sticks to silicone. Okay? This is the second item that I'm gonna mold, which is a keyhole on my nightstand. And again, I'm using the same method. I'm estimating about how much I need, and I first just try to cover it, see if I can cover it pretty good. And it does look like that's pretty good. So I'm gonna use the same amount. Now you can measure this amount and then measure an amount of the purple if you want to be exact, but I usually just kind of eyeball by making a little ball that's about the same size. And you just mix it together again, because you'd rather have a little bit extra than not enough, but you don't want so much that you are wasting it either. And I usually try to use a coupon if they have it at Joann's or Michael's to get this, so that I get it for a better price, because I use a lot of this. Okay. So I'm going to start pressing this on, and like I say, you want to press it really good so you're getting in all those crevices, so you get as good a mold as possible. And this stuff will usually stick pretty good to whatever I'm making without me having to tape it on or hold it on. And it'll just stay right here for about 30 minutes. And then we'll take it off and you can see what it looks like. Because you can see, if you handle it too long, you'll see that it'll become firm, so it won't be moldable. But usually you have a good minute or two to work with it before it gets hard like that. So then I'll be able to make a keyhole that looks just like this. Okay, I'm going to pull this mold off. It's been 30 minutes. There, it just comes right off. Let's see if it doesn't hurt anything. Here's 2 molds that I made to do a repair on a dresser. And this was the broken part on the corner, and that's the clay added. And then this is it all fixed and painted. So this is what you can do with these, and I can use them on other things. And here's the 2 molds that we made from my headboard and nightstand. I'm going to be making some keyholes that we just did off my nightstand onto the front of this dresser. And I've already got my little lines drawn to where to put them. So I'm going to use my cornstarch and the mold. You can tap out the excess. Just grab a piece. And just start pressing it in the mold. And I usually just take my fingers and rub it along the excess to get it off, to get a sharper piece. And then you can sometimes take your fingers along the edges just to smooth any little rough spots. The main thing is just to press it firmly down in there so that you get a good image. And then you just turn it upside down and it should come right out. And you can make several at a time. You can actually make all of them. If you know you need 6, you can do all 6. Sometimes if I'm doing something that has a lot of molds, I will actually just sit here and just make mold after mold after mold and then glue them on. So then all you do, I'm going to glue them on now. And you want to get just want to get glue all over it on the back, kind of a thin layer, because if you get it too thick, it'll just slide down. And I've got my center marks here that I measured down the dresser, and I'm just going to put these right just a hair down from the top edge. I'm just going to just do it by eye. But if you want to get really precise, you can draw a line if you're going to have space. But what you have to think about is your drawers are different heights. So if you wanted to put it in the middle of the drawer, it's going to be a different measurement for the drawers that aren't as tall. And just smear this glue all around. And I can see my line through the keyhole hole, that it's right in the center. And I'm just kind of eyeballing it here, just taking it just a little bit down from the top. Because actually in a lot of antique pieces, they're moldings because they were hand carved. They're not exactly identical either, so and a lot of times things aren't exactly symmetrical. So I'll just leave that on there and let those get dry before I paint it. Okay, now I'm going to use this little mold that I made off my headboard to accent a piece, this little wooden piece here, a magazine rack, nail rack that I'm making. Get some clay, and again, just press it in with your fingers. And this is why it's important to have a soft clay, because if your clay is too stiff, it's going to really give your fingers a workout. And the good part is with these is if you do one, and when you go to take it out, if it's messed up or it's not exactly like you liked or thought it would look like, you can always redo it. Or you can save it for another project. And I just turn it over to take it out. And then what I'll do is put the glue on it. Again, you want to smear it just a thin layer, but covered good on the whole piece. And then I've made my center mark here. You don't have to do that. You can just eyeball it if you want. I think I will do one on each upper corner. And this is I'm going to make this into a little mail rack that I'm going to paint when I'm all done with it. And I'll probably stencil in mail here. And it's going to be just a little shelf. It's a repurposed drawer. And I think it'll look really cute hanging on the wall, so you can just stick your mail in, or you could even use it for magazines. I'm just kind of eyeballing it to be about where the other one is. And you just want to press down on all the edges, so to make sure that each edge is down good. That's why you want glue everywhere on the back, and especially the edges. And you can even come back if you want after these have been on for 5 or 10 minutes. You can even come around and just with a soft touch, just press very lightly on the edges just to make sure they're down. Okay, this dresser is an example of like the one in the pictures that we're going to show. But this would be an example of a case where you could use this to repair something that had a part that's missing, because just pretend that all of the keyholes were in place here except the top one. Or maybe it was so severely damaged that you really just couldn't repair it or fix it, so you could take it off and you could use a good one to make a mold like we did yesterday on the dresser. You can make a mold of that, and then when it gets cured, you can use this clay and fill in here and make one that will fit where there was one missing or damaged. So or you can use them to decorate with. This shows the appliques or the moldings that I just put on here on the side, and I'm spinning it around now so that I can work on the other side, because you'll be able to see the molds that I've done on the front, the little keyholes. And those are actually still wet because I just put them on. And these are always fun to add on. A lot of people will ask me if I have the keys, so that's kind of fun because they do look real. Once they're painted and part of the piece, they just look incredibly real. And then I am going to add on this side the same thing that I put on that side. Here are some molds that I made and added to the side of the dresser, and I'll do them on actually both sides. But here's the keyholes that we put on from the mold that we made for my nightstand. And once this is all painted and finished, it's going to look like they were just always there. It'll look really nice. And thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe.